All right. Welcome to another series of Time to Tell the Truth. And now we're adding a little bit to that. We're saying you can't handle the truth. Because we say so much. So it really is. Can you handle what you're about to hear? So put your seatbelts on. Let's get ready. We go back old school, that show that used to be on television to tell the truth. And the right person would stand up and continue to stand up when the truth was being told. But you know how difficult it is sometimes, even when we say, go ahead and tell me, tell me the truth. But can you handle it? Well, let's find out. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Rosalind Shaw Belt. Most people call me Dr. Roz. I am the CEO of Dream to Life Productions and Ministry, LLC, and an incorporated nonprofit, a wife, a bunch of other stuff. But what I want to focus on is what I've been privileged to achieve. And as a result of that, I've grown to have a passion for wellness and to begin to research and get information for people to know, because I always want people to know the truth, right? So I'm a certified econopreneur and lifestyle consultant. I have certifications from Flat Belly Lifestyle with Dr. Eric Prince, as well as certifications from Optimum Health, and Balance. So I'm excited to be able to share this information. I said all that to say the doctor in front of my name doesn't relate to me being a medical doctor, but I do have a couple of doctorates, theology and divinity. So let's get started. So our topic today, and this is going to be a couple of series, maybe three. We'll see how far we get today. But we're going to challenge you to get this information and to start using it to activate self-healing. Right? Activate self-healing.
Most people are under the impression that we need medicine to heal, we need a surgery to heal, we need chemo to heal, we need to go to the doctor to heal. Okay, that's the only way healing takes place. But to be truthful with you, healing doesn't take place in a hospital, it doesn't take place with your doctor. Healing takes place within you. Okay, treatment takes place in the hospital, and treatment takes place with your doctor. And treatment and healing are two very different conversations, okay? It is not the same, and they should not be compared, all right? So true healing, I'm gonna give you a definition of that so that you'll have an understanding and a basis before we dive into the conversation. Treatment is a manipulation of biochemistry, okay? Treatment is when you have to continue it for the rest of your life, okay? And even if that's a surgery is still treatment, because you may feel like, hey, I got the surgery, I'm good now. But most people who go and get a hip or knee surgery, 10 years later, they need another hip or knee surgery. You go get LASIK, 10 years later, you need another LASIK surgery. So what it's saying is that treatment is going to be repetitive. It does not solve the problem. Okay. However, when you're thinking about healing, healing is a very different conversation. Healing is not a manipulation of biochemistry, it's a correction of biochemistry. Okay. Healing is when you make changes not only in your lifestyle and your habits, but also the biochemistry in your body. And not only a change in the biochemistry in the body, but a correction in the biochemistry in your body. All right. A reset back to the factory settings. All right, so that's what actual healing is.
So that's what we're going to focus on, the healing side, because we all know about the treatment side. We get that on a daily basis, weekly or a monthly basis when we go to the doctor and they prescribe a medication, or if we have a process done, a surgery done, or etc., we're being treated, right? So let's talk about self-healing. The expert definition defined by Dr. Amber Thornton is it's an intentional process of improving your own well-being through deliberate practices and mindful attention. It has a natural capacity, the body's innate ability to restore balance and repair itself physically and mentally when it's given the right conditions and support. And guess what, guys? It's an ongoing journey. So it's not a slam bam, thank you, ma'am. It's not going to happen overnight. It's an ongoing journey. Healing is a journey, not a quick fix. That's why folk don't like it. That's why folk don't want to do it, because we want it to happen overnight. My husband used to tell me myself when I would talk about weight, and he'd say, well, you didn't get it overnight, right? So you can't lose it all overnight, but you can do whatever it is that you're trying to do to heal thyself over time. So what does it require? Patience. We don't like that. It requires consistent effort. I ask you, can you handle the truth? Consistent effort and compassionate self-awareness to unfold fully. So self-healing empowers you to become an active participant in your wellness journey rather than a passive recipient of care. It recognizes that within each of us lies remarkable regenerative potential waiting to be activated. Now, as a minister, I believe in healing. I believe in the laying on of hands. I've seen people, I have laid hands on individuals and they have gotten up. They have gotten out of a wheelchair, or they had a service many, many years ago where a brother laid out in the middle of the floor and they said that he had died and God raised him back up. I've experienced that kind of stuff. But what good is that when you still go back and do the same thing? And that's why scripture also says, physician, heal thyself. So a lot of times, especially in the body of Christ, we rely on that without taking on any responsibility ourselves. And see, literally, there's a science behind self-healing. There's a science. Physiological systems, our bodies maintain what's called homeostasis through complex networks in our body: the nervous system, the immune response, the microcirculation, the muscle function. They all work together in concert to preserve balance and initiate repair. Remember when you were a kid and you'd sing those songs, the neck bone connected to the shoulder bone and the shoulder bone connected, all of that. Everything God put together is an orchestra. Parasympathetic activation. Relaxation triggers the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, promoting tissue repair, reducing inflammation, and optimizing healing resources. And you'll hear me talk about why it's so important later. We'll get into it, to get some rest, to get some sleep. We don't rest enough. We don't get quality rest. And then there's this mind-body connection. Research shows that stress hormones like cortisol significantly hinder the healing process, while mindfulness and cognitive behavioral tendencies can reduce these effects and accelerate recovery. That's why many of you, the sickness in your body really has nothing to do with the sickness in your body. It's the sickness in your environment.
Learn and understand that you may not be in touch with that part of yourself that understands what true healing is, but understand that your body is capable of doing it, okay, in many ways. Not only in the way of correcting, again, vitals, whether it be issues with breathing or issues with your cholesterol or issues with your blood glucose or issues with your blood pressure. But I'm talking about correcting things in terms of regenerating tissue in the body as well too.
So we've got to do our part. And that's where I want us to take on the responsibility of doing our part. There are real life healing stories. Here's a little young man, Garrett Potter. He had a devastating diagnosis. At just 9 years old, Garrett was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor and given only 6 months to live by his medical team. He began a daily practice of visualizing his immune system as a powerful space army fighting the tumor cells. This was a technique he practiced with unwavering commitment. It was probably really fun to him. And after 5 months of consistent visualization practice, scans revealed the tumor had completely disappeared, stunning his medical team and demonstrating the power of the focused mind in healing. There is power in the mind. So we can activate self-healing, but it has a lot to do with what you're thinking about.
Okay, it's common for us to, eat food that really isn't food. It's common for us to, you know, breathe air that isn't fresh. It's common for us to drink water that is toxic. These are things that weren't common 100 years ago. Okay, so it's just important to understand that most of the food 100 years ago was all natural. There was no organic section in the grocery store. Okay, there was no, chlorine in the water. They weren't putting chlorine and fluorine in the water. So it's just fluoride in the water. So it's just important to understand that things are very different now. And as a result of that, this is what's making us so sick. Our society itself is sick. And it's not that it's broken, it's really rigged. Okay? It's really rigged for us to be unhealthy and sick.
So today my challenge is that we can't just talk about activating self-healing if we don't understand where we've come from. Why are things different? Why are we sicker now than we used to be? Why are people being diagnosed with cancer and it's like every year it's starting at an earlier age? Because there's been an evolution. There's been an evolution of daily life. Let's look back to the 1920s compared to 2023. The past centuries has witnessed a dramatic transformation in how we live and how we work and how we interact with our environment. And some of the practices that seem normal today would be completely foreign to our great-grandparents. Let's take about daily rhythms. In 1923, what did most Americans do? They get up, they slept with the sun, they followed natural circadian rhythms. Today, what? Artificial lighting, 24/7 entertainment has disrupted these patterns significantly. Our food consumption has changed. Our ancestors ate primarily whole food, local, seasonal food with minimal processing. But our modern diet is often containing ultra-processed foods with preservatives, artificial flavors, and high sugar content. So we can't help but since we've had these dramatic transformations, we can't help but have a dramatic transformation in the life we live in, our health, our work environment. Physical labor was the norm with farming, manufacturing jobs, keeping people active. Today, the desk job, sedentary desk job, screen time has dramatically reduced daily movement. So because we're living in this digital revolution impact, we've got to recognize that we're causing our demise. Perhaps the most profound change in daily living has been our relationship with technology and screens, something entirely absent from just a century ago. The average American spends over 7 hours daily on screens. I'm guilty. Actively non-existent in 1923. The blue light exposure disrupts melatonin production and sleep quality. The constant notifications create always on stress response, neck strain and repetitive stress injuries from device usage, reduce face-to-face social interaction, affecting our mental health. People don't even want to talk to each other. They're going to talk and they're going to send an emoji instead of saying, I love you, I care about you, I'm here for you. So the technology that makes our lives more convenient may simultaneously be undermining our physical and psychological well-being. My husband and I talk about it, how kids, they don't interact and go outside and play, so they don't learn the social movements that take place when you get chosen to play the game, or when you don't get chosen, how you handle it, or when you win or when you lose, how you get along with people, how you have a fight and then you still get along with folks. See, they're not doing that because they're in front of the computer. So there's also been a nutritional transformation. I was raised in a home where we sat down as a family to eat our dinner when my father came home from work. But back in the 1920s, and I'm not born in the 1920s, but that's, you had home-cooked meals from scratch, locally sourced seasonal ingredients, limited sugar consumption, few preservatives or artificial ingredients, and smaller portion sizes. limited meat consumption due to the cost. But today's diet, 60% of the calories from ultra-processed foods. The global food system with year-round produce, high sugar consumption, compared from 12 pounds to 77 pounds per person annually. Oh my God. Thousands of food additives and preservatives, larger portions, and frequent snacking and high consumption of factory farm meat. I mean, the fast food places on purpose ask you, do you want to supersize? And then our movement and physical activity. Physical movement has been engineered out of modern life, creating an unprecedented level of sedentary living. I mean, if you talk to a young person now and ask them, do you know what kickball is? You know, we're starting to see kids starting to play flag football, but kickball and hopscotch and all those kinds of things, you know, jump roping and stuff, all those things kept us moving. But even our own lives, we have to think about how much movement we're getting in. We do our best to park near the door when you go to the grocery store instead of parking away to make you have to walk. We have less physical labor, less household chores. I mean, they even create things to go around the house to sweep for you, little mechanical things to, to just go around. You can even have your own robots that do all that work for you because we're not putting in that work, that physical activity. But look at the sedentary time increase. And planned exercise is just minimal. So we've got to activate our self-healing because we're getting stuff that we don't even know we're getting. We're getting exposed with chemicals just even from our personal care products. The average woman applies 168 chemicals to her body daily through cosmetics, shampoos, and skincare. Products that either didn't even exist a century ago or were made with simple ingredients. The home environment, modern homes contain flame retardants in furniture and VOCs in paint and phthalates in flooring and dozens of cleaning chemicals, creating an indoor chemical environment unprecedented in human history. And in our food system, we know this. And we've done a teaching, one of our sessions about this when they put on the hazmat suit and, you know, they're spraying all of our fruits and vegetables, pesticides, herbicides, packaged chemicals, food additives, transformed our food supply with the average American consuming 5 to 10 pounds of food additives annually. So, and then to top it all off, stress. Listen, you can't wake up in the morning and not be stressful unless you make up your mind not to be stressful. Because we got a whole lot of stuff that's thrown at you trying to leave you in stress every day. Chronic vigilance, 24/7 news. If you are that person that's got the news all the time, you're dealing with stress. Because something you see on there is going to freak you out. 24/7 news cycles and social media create constant awareness of global threats and disasters that our ancestors would never have even known about, keeping stress response activated. Time compression, technology, it makes us go fast. The pace is fast. Nobody moves slow. Nobody walks slow. Everybody's in a hurry. The average worker handles 120 plus emails a day. I know if I don't check my email within a day, it's up in the hundreds and 200s. Constant pressure unknown a century ago. And then the boundaries between work and personal life have dissolved. In the 20s, work ended when you left the factory or the field. Today, 76% of professionals check work email on the weekends. Social comparison. Social media creates unprecedented opportunities for unhealthy comparison, with the average person seeing over 5,000 idealized images weekly that can trigger inadequacy and anxiety. And sometimes young people, and not just so young people, are comparing themselves to somebody that's on social media and don't even realize they've got all kind of stuff to make it up. They've done Adobe Photoshop to make it make their skin look smoother than it is. So all of these stressors create what? Chronic cortisol elevation, affecting immune function, metabolism, and mental health in ways our ancestors never experienced. So there are consequences. And that's why our statistics are where they don't need to be. Because these lifestyle changes have made dramatic shifts in disease patterns over the past century. 10 times more people have type 2 diabetes, 33% are obese compared to 3% in the 20s. 54% have chronic disease, the percentage of Americans with at least one chronic condition today, and 25% mental health disorders. 1 in 4 adults now experience mental illness annually. While we've made tremendous progress now against infectious diseases, modern lifestyle diseases have emerged as the predominant health challenges of our time, conditions that were relatively rare just a century ago. So we got to find a balance. We got to find a balance. That's the path forward. And I'm not saying we don't need to abandon the modern conveniences to reclaim our health, but we can learn from our ancestors. We can learn from our ancestors. And I was just saying that the other day. He calls the young because they're strong. He calls the old because they know the way. And there's some things that we have to learn from our ancestors. We've got to reconnect with nature. Prioritize natural light exposure, time outdoors, and connection with natural environments to restore circadian rhythms and reduce that stress. Return to real food. Focus on whole, minimally processed foods that our great-grandparents would recognize, reducing chemical additives and ultra-processed options. And move like your ancestors. Build some natural movement back into your daily life through walking, through a physical chore, and through varied activities rather than relying solely on planned exercise. And then digital boundaries. Create technology-free times and spaces to restore the mental rest and genuine social connection that previous generations took for granted. I know that there are some restaurants out there now that they require, when you come to that restaurant, they have a place in the center of the table for everybody to put their cell phone. Some of us would have a difficult time with that. By adopting the best of both worlds, the best of both worlds. We're not trying to take away one and delete the other. Modern medical advances with ancestral lifestyle wisdom, we can create a healthier future that honors our biological needs. So now let's talk about how we can activate self-healing. We're going to cover about 10 ways, and I probably won't cover all 10 today. I may have only covered 1 or 2, but one of the ways, and they're not in any particular order as in this is what you should do first or second or third, but fasting is a way to activate self-healing.
Fasting, because we eat too much. We're a nation of overfed and malnourished people, okay? And as a result of that, being overfed or malnourished, we are overweight, we are chronically diseased, we're inflamed, and we're very fragile when it comes to any type of infection, okay? And the beauty of fasting, and we just finished up a fast with my membership program, Tribe Healing Community. We did a 48-hour fast. And to hear what people were saying, just from doing a 48-hour liquid fast, water fast only, the shifts that they felt in their bodies, what they went through in 48 hours, okay? Withdrawal symptoms, okay? Which is a sign of addiction, and so many other things as well, too. So fasting is very healing to the body because after you hit that 48-hour mark, your body goes into what's called autophagy. And autophagy is this intracellular cleansing, okay? It's also getting rid of unhealthy dead cells in the bodies as well too, okay? But it's also detoxifying the body, okay? It's healing the body, all right? And so, again, we did a liquid fast, a water fast, very healing for the body. So you can do fasting as well too. And to be honest with you, there was a time where we didn't eat 3 square meals a day, okay? And then snack in between those meals. That was a very uncommon thing. But today is very common, so we overeat. But the unfortunate thing is most of the food that people are eating today is not only toxic, but it's deficient. Okay, so imagine that you're eating food that is deficient in natural vitamins, it's fortified with toxic synthetic vitamins, okay, and on top of that, so it's not giving you the nourishment that food is supposed to give. They give you energy and they give you life, but it's also making you very toxic in the process. So fasting is a big, huge shift or hack that you can add into your lifestyle in terms of like implementing to activate self-healing in the body. Okay, whenever you don't eat, okay, all of the energy that you would be using to actually break down food or metabolize food and then to get rid of the waste products that are left over after eating, all of that energy is shifted towards healing. Okay, so that's what you do when you fast. I talk about this in my book, Vegetation Over Medication, chapter 9, read out digestive rest. Okay, so I already gave you the blueprint on that. So if you already got my book, Vegetation Over Medication, check that out. All right, over 2,005 stars on Amazon. You can check it out at drbobbyprice.com. All right, so fasting, a huge hack, all right, to activate self-healing.
So let's talk about fasting for a second here, because that's what it does. It unlocks your body's natural power. See, we're talking about self-healing. There's an ancient practice of periodic fasting that activates powerful biological mechanisms that can help your body repair, regenerate, and revitalize. See, we got cells in our body, and that's what those cells that God put there, He made our body to self-heal itself. We just got to put the right stuff in it. We just got to realize there's a purpose behind it. A lot of us fast. We don't know why we don't really know the science behind fasting. We don't really know how powerful it is. We have times in our churches where we fast, and we're doing it for spiritual reasons, for us to get close to God, for us to increase our prayer life. And people look up and they say, oh, I lost some weight, not realizing what was the whole science behind it. The ancient wisdom of fasting ought to come in connection with modern science. See, throughout human evolution, our bodies developed sophisticated metabolic adaptations to thrive during periods of food scarcity. These natural cycles weren't just survival mechanisms, they were essential maintenance protocols for optimal health. Ancient healing traditions across cultures recognize that fasting's therapeutic potential centuries before scientific validation. Before science catches up, we're already doing things naturally. Our forefathers were doing things naturally, and then science puts a label on it and says, okay, this is what it is. All the way from Hippocrates to traditional Chinese medicine, controlled food restriction was prescribed to purify the body and restore the health. So your body makes a metabolic switch from burning sugar to burning fat. Anybody ready to burn fat? Okay. After 12 to 16 hours without food, your body undergoes a remarkable transformation. Now, something that Dr. Bobby said is that people did 48 hours and they talked about all the things they were going through in their body, how they were having such a difficult time. Did you hear what he said? When you're having that difficult time, it's because you are dealing with a food addiction. Because we're addicted. So the first 12 hours, your body primarily burns glucose or sugar from your recent meals and your liver glycogen. Then the next 12 to 16 hours, the glycogen depletes, and that triggers that metabolic switch to fat burning mode as a primary fuel source. And then the next 16 plus hours, your liver converts fatty acids into ketones, providing superior brain fuel while reducing inflammation. So that metabolic switch from glucose to ketone utilization represents an evolutionary conserved adaptation to food scarcity that triggers multiple protective cellular responses. That was a quote from Dr. Mark Batson of Johns Hopkins, neuroscientist. So fasting is powerful. It's powerful for our metabolism, because it's in the midst of fasting that your body undergoes a precise, orchestrated metabolic transformation. The glucose levels fall, the insulin decreases, allowing your fat cells to release stored fatty acids. The liver converts into ketones, which provide a more efficient energy source for the brain than the glucose, while generating fewer harmful free radicals. And all of this develops over millions of years of evolution when our ancestors faced uncertain food supply. They did it because they didn't have to. They didn't have a choice, right? Food was scarce. So you be on what we would call a force fast. But there's a thing called autophagy. That's when the body's cells recycle system, when they regenerate, when they cleanse the way God ordained for it to do. And fasting triggers that. It triggers a remarkable self-cleaning process called autophagy, where the cells identify and remove damaged components, recycling them for energy and new cell parts. And that's why a lot of times when people go through detoxes, after a few days, they feel energized. They have more energy. The 2016 Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded to Yasunori Ohsumi for discovering this mechanism of autophagy, highlighting its critical importance to health. Because now your cells are cleansing, you've got anti-aging effects. Who do you know that's been doing cleanses and detoxes, and they're looking younger? They're reversing their biological age, and they're protecting their neurons. So now neurodegenerative diseases cannot attack you like it's attacking everybody else that you know. Cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because we're clearing those toxic proteins. And even if you are attacked with it, you've got something to fight with. So there's clinical evidence that fasting can be used as medicine. True North Health Center will supervise thousands of water-only fasts, documenting reversal of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, autoimmune conditions. Intermittent fasting shows 20 to 25 reductions in your LDL cholesterol and significant improvements in insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation within just 10 days. Marked reduction in inflammatory markers associated with chronic disease. The average improvement in clinical studies after 3 to 4 weeks of intermittent fasting protocols. And we did a session talking about intermittent fasting and all the different ways you can get started. You don't start going 40 days and 40 nights and you've never done one day. You've never done half a day. You start where you are. You get in where you fit in. So you got to make sure you follow certain guidelines. And, definitely you want to consult a healthcare provider before starting any fasting regimen, especially if you're on medication, you got medical conditions, or you're pregnant or nursing or taking medication. You always want to stay well hydrated during fast, water and your herbal teas. And you start gradually. I just said that, with shorter fasting periods. Folks don't say, I can't fast, because you haven't even looked at what kind you could do. There's so many different ones. It's not just about going without this and without that for all these days. So many different ways to do it. Just denying yourself. You're denying, like we say in scripture, denying your flesh. But focus on nutrient-dense foods during the times that you're supposed to eat. And listen to your body. Listen to your body when it's time to break the fast if you're feeling unwell, but recognize the difference between feeling unwell and going through something that is part of the healing process. We got a 16-8. That's where you daily 16 hours fast and 8 hours a window where you eat. Okay, so that's like a 12 to 8. You eat between noon and 8 p.m. That's a person that's doing a 16-8. You're not eating breakfast. You're not eating until lunchtime. You're cutting off at 8 p.m. and then you don't eat again until 12 noon. That's a 16-8. And you've got a 5-2. 5 days of normal eating and 2 non-consecutive days with 500 to 600 calories. And then you got an alternate day, and there are different ones. We talked about them in another session. We full eating days alternated with fasting on every low calorie day, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And these are things that you can do on the opposite side of when you possibly are doing a 7-day or a 21-day or a 14-day detox. But you want to harness your body's power to heal. My objective today is to get you to understand God made our body to heal itself. And when you give your body the space to rest from constant digestion, you activate ancient healing mechanisms that have sustained human health for millennia. The journey of fasting is as much about mental transformation as physical healing. As you practice this ancient discipline, you develop greater awareness of your body's signals and a deeper connection to your innate healing capacity, because guess what? You're supposed to be in tune with your body. Not in tune with what the doctor tells you about your body, in tune with your body. I've heard so many stories of people that have gone to the doctor saying something was wrong and they couldn't find something, and then you leave there, but you know something is off. Whether they can see it on their scales or their scanners or whatever, you know when something is not like it should be. So fasting is that pathway. It's a pathway to health and longevity. By temporarily abstaining from food, you're going to activate powerful biological mechanisms. 72% disease prevention when people have a fasted lifestyle. All kinds of fasts. Remember I said that. Remove this mindset that it's got to be the 40 days and 40 nights, or it's got to be the Daniel fast only, or it's got to be once a year when you do whatever it is that you do. No. And you want to begin your fasting journey mindfully, listening to your body's wisdom. 3 times cellular repair increases during fasting. And 5+ self-healing systems, major bodily systems, demonstrate enhanced regenerative capacity during fasting periods. Hello. I mean, get this. I hope you get this, that we can reverse so many things that we're going through in our body. And then the next one I'm going to talk about is stem cell before we leave today. And then we'll get on part 2 of this. I knew I wouldn't get through all 10 of these today. So we're going to probably get through 2 of them today.
Stimulating stem cell growth, okay? What we know about stem cells is stem cells not only boost the immune system, but stem cells could actually regenerate dead, inactive tissue as well too. So let's say you did have an unhealthy liver, an unhealthy kidney, brain cells that were fried as a result of, unhealthy living, all right? Lung cells that needed regenerating, whereas your stem cells that actually could regenerate that type of tissue, okay? And eating the modern diet, unfortunately, is gonna make you have a very, not only inflamed liver, but a liver that is probably going from fibrosis to cirrhosis, okay, which is dead tissues in the liver. But that also occurs in the kidneys as well too. And we're not only seeing this in adults, but we're seeing this in children as well too, as early as in their teens. So it's just important to understand that stimulating stem cell growth is how we regenerate new tissues in the body. So you don't have to have stem cells coming from outside of the body. There's ways that you could actually stimulate stem cell growth within you, okay? Regular exercise stimulates stem cell growth, okay? Making sure you fast, like I just talked about. Getting enough sleep. Cacao, all right? Not the kind of chocolate that you get in most stores today, but if you go to, like, for instance, you go to iHeart Fruit Box, get out one of our cacaos, eat that really delicious, gelatin like substance off of the pods, and then on the inside you got pure cacao chocolate. All right, that pure cacao chocolate you can make a tea with, and that actually stimulates stem cell growth, among many other things in terms of what it's a benefit for. So there are ways that you could actually stimulate stem cell growth. All right, so number 2 is stimulating stem cell growth to activate self-healing in the body as well too. Again, if you're one of those people who have had knee issues, ankle issues, hip issues, shoulder issues, all right, it's been proven that stem cell therapy can help with that, all right? But what I'm telling you is that you don't need to get stem cells outside of yourself, you can stimulate them within yourself for that healing. There's been people who have had shoulder issues where they couldn't do this, raise their hand above their head, okay, for years. They got stem cell therapy. All of a sudden they're doing this, okay? So again, you can stimulate that activity within yourself, all right? So that's another really great hack. So if you have any of those kind of issues.
So a lot of us have heard about stem cells, and the only way we've heard about it, or at least the only way I had heard about it, is to get them from an outside source. But that's not what he's talking about. How can we activate the stem cells in our body? So understanding this, enhancing your body's natural stem cell activity can completely revolutionize healing, potentially transform medicine as we know it. And this is exploring both the natural approaches and the cutting-edge interventions to harness your innate regenerative participation.
There are around 200 types of cells that make up your body. They all work together to make sure your body is functioning properly. But there is one type of special cell that is making waves in the medical community, as it might be the cure for so many diseases. And what are they called? Stem cells. To put it simply, stem cells are undifferentiated cells that can later differentiate when the need arises. Most cells in your body have a designated purpose. Red blood cells carry oxygen around the body. Osteoblasts form new bone mass. Sperm is essential for reproduction. Stem cells are different in that way. They don't actually have a set purpose. Stem cells are characterized by two properties. For one, they can perpetually renew and make more of themselves. They also can differentiate into specialized cells. When you are injured or an organ is damaged for any reason, they come into action and create new cells.
So we're talking about a master healer, stem cells. Stem cells, they function in our body's natural repair system with remarkable abilities to self-renew and transform into specialized tissues. Do you realize that we can have stuff in us that can heal ourselves, but if we don't know about it, we don't even think about it, so it's not even functioning? Just because you're sitting and watching this, whether you're watching it live or pre-recorded or somebody shared the information with you, do you know how powerful it is just to get the knowledge? And then all of a sudden, have you ever gone to a car lot and saw a car and you had not seen that particular brand or before, that particular model, and then you leave the car lot and now you see it everywhere? That's what I believe is going to happen right now for some of you as it relates to these activating your own stem cells. Self-renewal can divide and create more stem cells. Differentiation can develop into specialized cell types. Tissue maintenance continuously replace damaged cells. Key types are embryonic stem cells, adult stem cells, and found in bone marrow, fat, brain, muscle, and most tissues. Why stimulate stem cells? Because it's the promise of self-healing. And the medical community is getting a hold of this, but they want to give us the ones from outside of our body and not necessarily teach us how to activate our own stem cells. As we age, the quantity and the function of our stem cells diminishes significantly. And that's compromising our body's ability to repair itself. And that's why it takes us so long to heal. When we have our surgeries, when we have our falls, it takes us much longer to heal because there's a decline and it contributes to slower recovery. But when we start mentally focusing, educationally focusing on our stem cell activity, even you can talk to your stem cells, right? We can potentially accelerate the healing process and address conditions previously considered irreversible. You got to talk to your body. This is the body that God made, and God wants you healed. Beyond cell replacement, stem cells release a complex array of signaling molecules that orchestrate healing by reducing inflammation, promoting tissue regeneration, and restoring normal function, making them powerful command centers for comprehensive healing. If a 9-year-old boy could talk to himself in the form of a game and all of a sudden receive healing. So there are natural ways to boost your stem cell growth. One, cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, your kale. Oh, let's load our plate up, guys. Antioxidant, rich berries. All the stuff we've been talking about in previous sessions. Omega-3, wild salmon, sardines. Come on, I've been seeing the plates with the sardines on it. Nuts and seeds and polyphenol-rich foods, turmeric and green tea. And then don't forget your lifestyle. When's the last time you moved? Some of you haven't started exercising yet. Oh, you're talking about your back, you're talking about your knees, you're talking about everything. There's no excuse not to have some movement. Sit in the chair, raise your legs up and raise your arms up. Regular, moderate exercise, 30 to 60 minutes a day. Get up a little bit early. This is your body. 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, intermittent fasting, stress reduction, avoiding toxins, smoking, excessive alcohol. These are natural approaches that have shown to increase circulating stem cells by up to 30% and improve your functionality, offering accessible ways to enhance your body's regenerative capacity without medical intervention.
There are 3 things today that medicine is showing can stimulate new brain cell growth in the hippocampus part of the brain. 3 shockers. What are the 3 shockers? Fasting. An easy way to do it is to have breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, then have an 18-hour fast through to the next morning. That's a shocker. It's a shock to the body when the food stops coming. That's one shock. The next shock is finishing every hot shower with a quick cold. Notice I didn't say long cold. I'm kind. That's a shocker. You'll go, it's a shocker. But it's going to stimulate your brain to release the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, new brain cells. Number 3, high-intensity interval training, running for your life for 30 seconds uphills, then having a break and then doing it again. That's a shocker.
That's a shocker. All 3 of those are shockers, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be able to stimulate our own stem cells, a real-world impact, because they're already success stories. Liver regeneration, the clinical trials used MSC therapy, stem cell therapy for a cirrhosis patient, and they showed 45% improvement. A patient with heart failure received stem cell therapy, demonstrating 27% increase in ejection fraction and reduced scarring in previously damaged areas. A 12-week lifestyle intervention combining nutrition, exercise, stress reduction, increased circulating stem cells by 33%, and improved healing rates by 21% in chronic wound patients. The most promising aspect of stem cell stimulation is that it doesn't just treat the symptoms. It addresses the root cause of tissue dysfunction by enhancing the body's own repair mechanisms. And that came from Dr. Maria Gonzalez, Regenerative Medicine Institute. So let's allow this new paradigm in medicine for us to activate our own self-healing through activating our stem cells, evidence-based lifestyle changes to optimize your stem cell function immediately, and then long-term comprehensive regenerative medicine approaches that maintain tissue function, and then in the near future, personalized stem cell activation protocols. We're at the threshold of approaching to health, one that works with our body's innate intelligence, because the body has an innate capacity for self-healing. If you don't get anything out of this today, you're going to be able to say, physician, heal thyself. Because our role is not to replace this intelligence, but to amplify it, support it, and allow it to express full potential. We're going to stop here today. Next week, we're going to start talking about deficiencies. We've got deficiencies in our body that when we correct them, your body begins to heal itself. So we're excited. Thank you for being here today. If you were not a part of this community where you get these videos, make sure you get with somebody and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can go back and listen to all the different topics that we've discussed in the past, and know that you'll have a great, wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.